Alright, we have the Inquisitor of the Mindfire from Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. They are a medium humanoid with 16 AC. Again, they have a breastplate. And 14 D8 hit dice with a Constitution score of 12, a Wisdom score of 16, and Charisma of 19. And should be a CR 8 again. If it's anything like the last one, it probably will be a CR 8. So now that we have our base stats out of the way, let's take a look at the skills section area, and we see that we have saving throws of Wisdom and Charisma. So we have 3 of those there. Putting that into the chart, we'll get a +2 effective AC bonus. And after that, we have skills, condition immunities, and senses. The rest of this doesn't matter. After that, we don't have any monster traits either. So we have a very quick section here for the Inquisitor of the Mindfire, and we can move right down into the actions for this monster, I guess. Just so I don't forget, I'm going to go ahead and put in the +2 hit, which is 7, increasing it from the base 3 that pretty much all monsters have if they don't have any bonuses. And our Inquisitor of the Mindfire has a multi-attack of using its Silvered Longsword twice or its Mindfire twice. So we have 2 options here. The Silver Longsword is dealing 8 damage, 8.5 damage, slashing, or 9 damage slashing. We'll actually go with the 9 because that's going to be more lethal, and they don't have a shield to worry about, so we have 9.5 damage here. And we also have 18 force damage, so very similar to the Inquisitor of the Sword. Next up we have Mindfire, which is going to be a DC 15 save, or taking, let's see here, one creature will take 17.5 points of damage, which is actually less than the Silvered Longsword, but can be done from a distance and uses saved. After that, we also have innate spellcasting. Technically, this would have been in the monster traits, but because it's now actions and they're really sorting out what's a trait, what's an action, bonus actions and such, the spellcasting has been moved down into the actions section, which is great to see. So we have Arcane Eye, Calm Emotions, Detect Magic, Detect Thoughts, Dispel Magic, Sending Suggestion, those are at will, and we also have Mass Suggestion and Modify Memory. So luckily, we don't have to worry about anything coming from the innate spellcasting of the Inquisitor of the Mindfire. So attack section 3 can be ignored completely. Attack number 4 is the Inquisitor's Command, a recharge of 5 or 6, so we will probably only see this on average 1 out of every 3 rounds of combat. So technically, the Mindfire should only get 1 use out of this if we have anywhere between 3 to 4 rounds of combat on average. So the target has to make a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw or be charmed until the start of the Inquisitor's next turn. Alright, so this again is, there's just no effect to the Inquisitor's Command down here, and we have nothing to worry about from this action. So with that, I would use whatever is dealing the most amount of damage, and once again, the Silvered Longsword is doing the most amount of damage. But we can also take a look at the Mindfire later on to see how much that would deal with the DC in consideration as well. So we'll take the 27.5, multiply it by 2, and end up with 55 points of damage. We're just going to go ahead and multiply the 55 times 3 rounds of combat, because every round of combat will be exactly the same, minus all the teleporting like from the Inquisitor of the Sword. So we have a full attack of 55 points of damage here. And already, if you're looking at my chart and the highlighted sections, we're seeing a CR6. So let's take a look and make the multi-attack this instead of with the Mindfire, and switch the bonuses around a bit with the DC check. So if we switch it from U2 to U3, we'll see a slightly smaller dip here. But if we switch it from the DC 7 currently to a DC 15, let's see if we have any kind of a change there. Actually, it gets even worse. So using the Mindfire drops the CR6 from using the Silvered Longsword down to a CR4. So what could we do to potentially make this a little stronger? Well, one thing we could do is just go ahead and increase the damage on the psychic damage here, because we would also need to modify the damage on the Mindfire as well. So if we want to do that, let's go ahead and work out the dice here. So the dice would be normally 4d8, which works out to be 4.5 times 4, giving us the 27.5 damage. So let's increase this by, let's go with 2 dice for the force damage and say it's 6d8 instead. What do we get there? Well, we get a total of 36.5 damage, and it only shifts us up to a CR7. We're going to need to move this up another 2 dice, in the longsword at least, to figure out how to fix this monster. So let's go to 8 and see what happens there. Well, we've gone a little too far now, and we've worked out 91 points of damage on average with the Inquisitor of the Mindfire. So let's take a step back and switch this from 8 to 7 and see if that fixes the problem. Okay, now we've found the CR8 for Inquisitor of the Mindfire using the Silver Longsword. We actually need to increase the psychic damage by 3 damage dice. Now that we've fixed the Silver Longsword, what can we do to fix the Mindfire? So for that, we would need to put in the, let's see here, 3d8, so it would be 4.5 times 3, plus an additional 4 points of damage from their Charisma, because apparently they're a Charisma-based caster. And we have the 17.5 points of damage. So we want this to get up to CR8 with the Mindfire as well, and getting 2 attacks out of it. Let's literally double the damage here from the dice. And, excuse me, no, not double the damage. Double the amount of dice from 3 to 6 and see if that changes anything. Alright, well, we're getting closer. We're going to need a lot of damage because that DC check is so low. Excuse me, we're going to need a lot of dice because that DC check is so low. Alright, well, let's go up to 8 and see if that moves us from a 6 to anything else. Now that moves us up to 7. So let's move this up to 9 since we're getting close and see if that puts us into a CR8. There we are. Now we have a CR8 both ways using either the Silver Longsword or the Mindfire. Alright, and there we have it. The Inquisitor of the Mindfire is either a CR4 if you are only using the Mindfire, a CR6 if you are only using the Silver Longsword, and to fix it, we need to increase the dice significantly to get it up to a CR8 like it's printed.